Hey guys, my name is Soaches, and today we're gonna be making Agent Ford CRULLER from Psychonauts 2. Starting off, I made this beautiful whole body sketch from a screenshot of the game to help me get the right proportions for the armature. I've never had to use armature before, so in the beginning it was kind of hard, but after a while and after a few attempts, it was still kind of hard, and I obviously had no idea what I was doing. I managed to find some thin metal wire lying around, and that helped me bind it together in the end. I've actually had a lot of ideas for Psychonauts related videos in the past, because I really like the first game. And sometimes I just have those moments where I play a game and I go, heck yeah, let's build it. So in the beginning I wanted to build Raz, but I realized that I couldn't because I was mainly using air drying clay, which isn't that good with small details in the same way that polymer clay is. Then I was looking to build one of the sensors right until I just switched to Agent CRULLER because frankly he's just a really cool character. And he likes bacon. Also the milkman, of course. His milk is delicious. I'm using Super Sculpey Firm for this project, and it's actually only the second time that I made a character using this clay, so I'm kind of relying a lot on just trial and error and hoping that the copious amounts of polymer clay tutorials that I've watched will suddenly just come back to me and immediately result in skill without having to practice. I'm focusing more on the rough shape of the body before I move on to the details. His main attire is kind of like a onesie with flared arms and legs, and the shoulders kind of have this shoulder pad collar thing sticking out, so I treaded some clay over the neck hole and just smoothed it out until it started to get the desired look. I can't really judge the fashion of a psychic mastermind. The head was sort of a challenge because until now the characters from Among Us were the most complex polymer clay creations that I'd ever done. I think it would be a lot worse if this was a realistic character, but the comedic proportions kind of helped in the sculpting process. I used my ballpoint tools to make temporary eye holes and then used some scrap clay to make temporary facial features just to kind of check what it would look like pieced together. When I thought it looked okay, I started working on the actual details on the face. The body took 1 day to make, the head took another day to make, the hair had me crying for 3. For some reason it was really hard to figure out how the hair was supposed to look. I tried again, and again, and again. When I found a shape that I was okay with, I attached it to the head using a combination of aluminum wire and bacon bond. When I'd gotten the overall shape down and the hair poking out in the right places, I used a needle tool and a few other things to make the details. To make his bacon-smelling device, I rolled a small piece of clay into a water drop shape, then I made 2 tiny nostrils. I did my best in replicating the exact places where the spikes on the eyebrows and the mustache were. After attaching them, I used what I like to call my golf club tool to add texture. I also cut away small sections with a knife to make the in-game look a bit better. I put the nose on after the mustache because I found it easier to cut around the mustache when it was placed on the face rather than trying to guess where the nose would be. He has 2 strands of hair that covers up half of his ears, which I added using small bits of clay. The ears were also added using small bits of clay. Come to think of it, most of this project was made using small bits of clay. I could actually save a lot of time doing commentary like that. This is made of cardboard! I enlarged the eye holes and made them more almond shaped instead of perfectly round. To make the eyes, I made some small balls of clay and cut them in half. As for the eyelids, I used a thin sheet of clay and gently draped it over the top and the bottom of each ball and blended the edges of them. I later removed the larger eye and remade it off camera because it wasn't big enough. Since I'd never done hands in polymer clay before, I was kinda dreading it. Luckily the art style was very beginner friendly because Ford only has 4 fingers, they're all really long and they're all square. So pretty much all I had to do was cut them out of a thin sheet of clay and they were basically done. Still, it took a few tries, but it wasn't that bad. Once again I used the golf club tool to make the joints, then I attached them inside the sleeve. The shoes were just cut from a thicker sheet of clay, then I shaped them using my fingers. I cut a small section underneath and very carefully tried to add a line for the sole. I then began to work on the striped clothing texture using my smallest ballpoint tool. I'm attaching the shoes afterwards so I don't have to work around them when doing the inside of the pant legs. As a final detail, I made the tiny Psychonaut badge that goes across his chest. Then it's time to put it into the oven. It's also worth mentioning that I'm now super paranoid every time I do this because I burned the first attempt of the Among Us figures. It comes out alright and the pieces are intact, so let's begin the final painting segment. I painted the Psychonaut badge first so I didn't have to worry about spilling white paint on the clothes. This, along with the eyes and ears, were the hardest parts to paint because some of the details were really tiny, and I also had to do this with a camera in front of my face. The body itself was just a few coats of bluish green, and then I just blended that out with a tiny bit of black to get the darker shade for the gloves. The eyelids were a bit more green and the hair was bright grey. After painting all the hair, I went back and gently dry brushed the surface with white paint to make it look less mundane. It also makes it more similar to how it looks in the game. The nose and ears had a similar shade of pink. I created the shading of the nose with some brighter pink and a mix of smudging and dry brushing, which is slang for improvising. The ears had a sort of comic spiral pattern inside, which once again was really tiny and difficult. And now we have come to the eyes, which I made using some blue paint. Then I carefully painted a thin circle around both of them and made a black pupil at the center. I recommend using the ballpoint tool. I then followed this with a brighter blue, which was definitely for aesthetic reasons and not because I did it wrong the first time. Once the painting was done, I successfully added 3 layers of varnish to the eyes. While each coat was drying, I instead prepared a wooden base for the character to stand on, which was then painted using black acrylics. With everything dried and finished, I attached the figure to the base with a few drops of super glue. After that, it was done. Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone, and as usual, if you have any suggestions for future videos, you can leave them in the comment section below, or you can click here to watch some of my other videos. Otherwise, take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you all next time.